Today's topic, why black educators matter. Some would say it's controversial. I don't see why. I don't see why the topic is controversial at all. High school dropout rates. Having just one black teacher between kindergarten and third grade, this is the one I was referring to, reduces high school dropout rates by 39% for low-income black boys. I'm gonna say it again. Having just one black teacher between kindergarten and third grade reduces the high school dropout rate by 39% for low-income black boys. College enrollment, all students do, but they students who look like me come to me all the time. They ask me certain questions that only I and them understand because of our situations, cultures, etc., etc. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. Welcome to the Truth Meter Podcast. I am your host, T Mac, and we have a great, riveting episode for you today. But before I begin, though, shouts out to the New York Knicks. Even though I'm a Lakers fan from back in the day via Magic Johnson, that's when I was first a Lakers fan. I was always a New York Knicks fan, going up against those crubby Chicago Bulls back in the day with Pat Ewing. So, shouts out to them. First time being champions in 53 years. That was dope. I'm here for it. Yes, your boy is a big sports fan. But at any rate, today's topic, why black educators matter. Some would say it's controversial. I don't see why. I don't see why the topic is controversial at all. We're going to talk about a situation where there was a community board, a thread, and some would say it got out of hand. I don't think it did. It's just people were having debates. But I think it is incumbent upon us to understand the research and the data. But first, let's talk about that for a second. And I have some notes and some research. So if I'm looking away, that's why you see me looking away. But I live in Ohio. I'm an educator. I'm an administrator, and I live in Ohio. And here in Ohio, just to give you some data that I know off the top of my head, 2% of the teaching population is African-American males. About 4% to 4.5% are African-Americans in general, and 16 to 17% of the student population makes up African-American students. So about 92 to 94% of the teaching workforce is Caucasian or white. So that just gives you an macro explanation of what we're talking about when we're talking about representation, okay? And some would say, with those numbers, some would say, well, T-Mac or Mr. McKinney, why does that matter? I will get to that in just one second. But I was looking, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I can't remember. But there was somebody who posted on a community board or a thread. And this person simply said, hey, we need more black teachers in this specific school district. She just made a statement and it elicited 300 comments. It was a explosive topic. And some of the comments were things like, why does race matter? Of course, people would say that. Why does race matter? If a teacher is qualified to teach, the teacher should teach those students. We don't see color. Students don't see color. Come on, y'all. Do you see my color? Do y'all see? Now, if you're on a Spotify or Apple, you don't see it. But if you're on YouTube or video on Apple or what have you, you see this color. You see my melanin. You see what color I am. We see color. And don't get me started. That's for the next episode. I was about to say, don't get me started about who really sees color. I digress. Anyway, those are some of the comments that were posted in this community board thread. Some other comments that were posted were in support and understood why this person said we need more black teachers in this particular school district. That's all she said. And some of these people some of these people actually had the gall to say that this person was, I believe this person was racist, and I believe this person was black. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. And I'm thinking, really? We're really going there. See, there's this thing, and I don't want to get off track, but there's this thing about being black and the majority calling us racist. There's this thing about racism and power structure that I don't even want to get into right now, but you got to stop doing that. Yeah, we can be prejudiced for sure, but racist and racism, that's a whole different dynamic. I won't even get into that today. I'm going to save that for another time. At any rate, so as this dynamic is going on in this thread, it got me to thinking, because for me, in my personal experience, I didn't have a lot of representation. And I'm going to tell a story here in a minute. But first, let me delve into some research of why that some of those people who commented on that thread, you're just flat out wrong. You can have an opinion, but you're not able to have your own facts. Let me give you an example. Black teachers significantly improve long-term educational attainment, graduation rates, and academic engagement for Black students. Extensive empirical research shows that even limited exposure to same race educators dramatically shapes a child's trajectory, creating what researchers call the role model effect. The role model. I went to a school, before I get back into this research, I went to a school my 5th and 6th grade year, and ironically, it was an all Caucasian school, decent school, and I had 2 African American teachers, and those were some of the most loving, greatest teachers I've ever had. And they supported me. One is not here today. And they supported me. They loved on me, and they allowed me to help me mold me and be the child and the man that I am today. But we're going to sit here and say that, they weren't important in my development. They understood some of the journey and some of the potholes that I, as an African-American male, were going to go through. And and it was some cultural things as well. And that's okay. That's okay. They're supposed to do that. And they had some of those frank conversations with me to get me to understand, hey, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z, because look out for this, go through this challenge. And that's okay. So I don't understand why we're having this conversation about you don't see color or race doesn't matter. Let's get back into the research, though. A landmark study published, and I've read this, I've seen this before. A landmark study published in an American Economic Journal, Economic Policy, and highlighted by NPR and Johns Hopkins, tracked the long-term impacts of same-race teachers in elementary school. High school dropout rates, having just one Black teacher between kindergarten and 3rd grade, this is the one I was referring to, reduces high school dropout rates by 39% for low-income Black boys. I'm going to say it again. Having just one Black teacher between kindergarten and 3rd grade reduces the high school dropout rate by 39% for low-income Black boys. College enrollment. Black students who have at least one Black teacher in grades K through 3 are 13% more likely to enroll in college. Multiple teachers. Black students who are assigned to Black teachers in early childhood become 32% more likely to go to college. These are based on studies and research that has been done over decades. And based upon just this right here, you're going to sit here and say race doesn't matter, representation doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. Let's get into some more research. Test scores. Black elementary students K through 3 taught by a Black teacher scored 2 to 5 percentile points higher in math and 3 to 6 percentile points higher in reading than those taught by white teachers. Institute of Education Sciences. Special education. Black boys are 1.7 percentage points less likely to be misidentified with a learning disability when matched with a black educator. Advanced coursework. Black students taught by black educators are significantly more likely to be referred to gifted programs and enrolled in honors. Social emotional behavior impact. Having a black teacher boosts a black student's self-efficacy, their belief in their own ability to succeed, by 0.8.5 to 0.9 standard deviations. Classroom engagement. Engagement and happiness levels in classroom jump by 0.69 to 0.7 standard deviations. Absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism drops drastically, yielding a 47% reduction in absences for black students. I could keep going. All the data and research shows that African American students benefit from having representation. So then why is this such a controversial topic? It shouldn't be. What we should be doing is saying this. Two things. Number one, how can we get more African American teachers to teach African American students? And how can we get more teachers in general to come into the profession? Those are two things that I think that are critical here, because we need more teachers in general. We need to promote the profession. We can't have educators speaking negatively of the profession and then wanting, I don't know, young people to come into the profession. You must be an advocate and you must vote right. These are all the things that I talk about. You have to promote the profession to get more teachers into the profession. And African Americans need to promote the profession to get more of us to teach our children. Because as you can see, it's a direct correlation between the success of African American students, which is the direct correlation with the success of school districts, test scores, et cetera, et cetera. You see how the pieces of the puzzle fit here? If we can get our demographics, black boys, African Americans, special education students, because a lot of our African American boys are misidentified and put in special education. All of these metrics, if we can get representation, only helps. So then why? I'm just asking a rhetorical question. Why must it be such a difficult and acrimonious conversation? I don't understand. Well, I do understand. We understand why. We'll get to that later. You know, folks have to open up their minds. The whole not seeing color thing, I don't understand that. And what I believe is that, you know, we have to be honest about what we see here, okay? Because I really believe that people are trying to be sensitive about this situation when there's no need to be sensitive. Let's speak truth to power. You do see color. Let's make an effort to fix this particular problem. There's not, the representation isn't there. And if it's not there, we need to fix it. It was such an acrimonious thread that I think, I really like it though, because it elicited 300 comments. And what I want to see is we need to take next steps. You know, what do we do about this situation? You know, what do we do with recruiting? What do we do with, I'll say this, it just came to my brain. And, you know, and I talk to my thought partners all the time, but when you have a community, several communities around this country, and they're filled with African American educators, and you don't hire them, what does that say? So when you have an influx of African Americans that come to your community, and then you have an influx of African Americans in said community, and then you choose not to hire them, I don't know. What does that say? Just another rhetorical question. I know what it says to me, and none of it is good. So here's another issue I have. So now you don't have enough African American educators. So the ones that you do have, they are relied upon to fix some of the issues with your Black students. I have been a part of that. And I'm here to tell you, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Black student discipline, hard parent conversations. Let me tell you something. Over the years, I have been tasked with, I had to close my eyes because I have been tasked with having conversation with Black parents because teachers couldn't deal with them. Now, sometimes I did it and sometimes I didn't. But the question is, why is it that you can't have that conversation with those parents? I wasn't responsible for them. I'm talking about when I was a teacher and an administrator. You are supposed to build relationships with those parents. And so when now, caveat here, sometimes they're disrespectful, for sure. But in the profession that we're in, you need to deal with that. And so they will come to the Black man, the 2%, and want me to deal with them. That's problematic. So we have an issue with not only having enough African American educators, but not having enough representation. But then now you want me to represent at the wrong time. No, you need to develop those relationships with that child and with those parents and quit putting the burden on me. That's not fair. And I think that's rarely spoken. You know what I mean? I don't mind. Listen, think about this. As the minority, why am I tasked to have relationships with not only minorities, black folks, my community, people of color, white folks, Caucasians, etc., but then you are not tasked to have relationships with anybody? Now, let me time out, because I can hear y'all now. Well, come on, Tim. I have relationships with everybody. I'm not talking about every teacher or even most teachers, but I'm talking about a fair amount. I know because I've experienced it, okay? I've experienced having to put out fires for other teachers because of a cultural difference or because of a situation where that particular teacher could not handle that particular parent because of some cultural situations, or simply because I know how to relate to that person because of my melanin. And this is just facts, folks. It's the truth. I am not telling you anything that's not true. It's just the facts. And so it circle backs around about that representation piece. That's all I'm saying. And it should not, again, this shouldn't be a controversial topic. It should be, hey, let's talk about this. It's okay to have a conversation, folks. This is what this podcast, this is what this platform is all about. But, the racial tensions, the community conflict, all of this stuff, it puts almost like a black tax and a burden on us to have these conversations with the community. And it's just unfair. It's an unfair burden. And I think because we don't have the representation, the few 2% black males we have, or the 4%, or the 6% nationally that we have, we are tasked to be these people to put out these fires. But then here's the caveat to this. Yeah, we're tasked in these buildings, these school buildings, to put out these fires, to have an unfair burden on solving some of these issues. But when it's time for promotions and leadership and some of the other jobs in some of these school districts, we're nowhere to be found. That's another problem when we talk about representation. So I don't have an answer for that other than, I could talk about, I don't have the exact data on the number of superintendents, but I know it's not a lot of us. Every metric, we are underrepresented. Now, to be fair, there is not enough of us going into the profession. That is true, but it's still not enough of us represented. One other point that I would like to make is simple to understand why when you as a student don't have that representation and you go through some of the societal ills, and when you come to school and people don't understand your plight. Again, if you watch the first episode and you've seen me and my journey, I am that student. I am that student in high school that didn't have the teachers that really cared, because all teachers say that they care. And all teachers have the ability to teach, but it takes an extra special teacher that knows your plight and that understands and that looks like me, that could push me forward. Now, that's no excuse. I want to be clear. I was the ultimate reason why I had that 1.69 GPA in high school and graduated with a 1.69. I want to be very clear. I take full responsibility for that. But it would have helped if I had some representation to say, hey, to give me a kick in the butt. And so some of the things or some of the issues that our students have, it helps. It really, really helps when they have a person that looks like them, that understands their plight, that understands their culture. Again, this is not sometimes folks try to frame this like a racial issue. It isn't. It shouldn't be. Students, I have helped multiple students of multiple races. But what I can say is students who look like me, I have become a role model for them. They come to me all the time. All students do. But students who look like me come to me all the time. They ask me certain questions that only I and them understand because of our situations, cultures, et cetera, et cetera. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I have helped students and gotten them over the line, over the top, because quite frankly, I look like them and they saw somebody who achieved it. They believed it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that is why I read you the data. The research is there. This isn't about racism or prejudice or whatever. It is empirical data that says that if we have representation in the classroom of more African Americans, then more African American students succeed. And that is better for everybody. But to me, it sounds like the environment that we're in, there are certain people that just don't want that to happen. This is the Truth Meter Podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, check me out on all platforms. Stay blessed. I'm out.